We have to admit that without the huge sacrifices of the Syrian people, the bloodshed, both civilian and military, in more than one province, such a meeting would not have happened. That admission, part of the opening remarks by the Syrian vice president, who also acknowledged that the highly touted National Dialogue Conference was taking place in an atmosphere filled with doubt and suspicion. A significant trust deficit that the government says it's beginning to repair.
I think if you talk to these young men and women inside, when I left this noon, many of them told me this is the first time we truly believe that the government intends real and radical reform.
On the first day of the conference, more than 90 people spoke out, a clear indication that there are many here who want their opinion heard. Being debated inside how to implement the various reforms promised by the president, to include how to set up a multi-party system, a new electoral law, revisiting or perhaps even rewriting the entire Constitution, and a new media law that would allow for more freedoms. The government says that this is the first step towards a new and democratic Syria. But the majority of the opposition says this conference is a farce. Real dialogue cannot begin until the violence ends. Activists say that more than 1,400 people have been killed since protests began in Syria around 4 months ago. It was the pressure exerted by those chanting for freedom and the end of the regime that led to this conference. But they are not represented, refusing to talk to a government they say that continues to slaughter them. Most prominent figures also boycotted, like Luay Hussein. He has good reason to doubt the government's intentions. He spent years in jail for voicing his dissent. Just last week, when they were inviting us to this conference, at the same time, they detained tens, killed tens, despite their invitation for dialogue, he says. The government has not proven that it is serious about dialogue or political resolution. The government insists it is, blaming the violence on armed gangs.
There's nothing we want more than to wake up tomorrow morning and find no violence in Syria, no bloodshed in Syria. But I think this requires everybody to participate and to believe that it is doable.
Al-Tayyib Tizini, an opposition figure who did attend, tells us he came with a single purpose: to hear the government's answer to one question. Do you really have a program of reforms, or are you buying time to continue on your path of tyranny? The government always says yes to reforms, he continues, but argues this yes should be translated into reality. Arwa Damon, CNN, Damascus.